candidates to introduce themselves. So, I don't want to toss them, but you mind?
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
First, let me just say thank you to the NAACP, JAMCCAR, and Haitian American Political Alliance for sponsoring this event. This is democracy in action at the grassroots level, and it's great that everybody is here. My name is Michael Specht. I'm running for the Town of Ramapo Supervisor on the Democratic Party line. We have a platform that I think sums up what we're about. It's called Breaking Barriers, Building a Future. It's a detailed program of the change we want to bring to the Town of Ramapo. When we say breaking barriers, we have two meanings. We need to change some of the things that have happened in the town, we need to change some of the policies and ways of doing things that in the town have not been working out so well. And by breaking barriers, we also mean we need to break the barriers down between the people in the Town of Ramapo. The town right now is polarized, there's a lot of division, and we need to be able to bring people together, to work for our common interests, to make the Town of Ramapo a place that we're all going to be proud of to live in and raise our families.
Hello everyone, thank you again for hosting and sponsoring this debate. It's great to be back, and I appreciate everything that you do for the community. Most people would want to say, why in the world would you want to run for Ramapo Supervisor? And I'll tell you why. The Town of Ramapo has been devoid of honest, competent leadership for far too long. My name is Bill Weber, and I'm running for Ramapo Town Supervisor. I'm a certified public accountant since 1994. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for a company for the last 17 years. I have the financial acumen and the financial background and skills and management skills that are sorely needed within the Town of Ramapo. I'm thrilled to be running with Shani Backhofer and Grant Valentine on an independent coalition ticket of Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Jewish, Christian. We put together a ticket that looks like Ramapo, because Ramapo is the most diverse town in the state of New York and possibly the country itself. And we felt by having a coalition ticket that has people of all the various communities, we will be in the best shape to govern and to listen to everyone's interests and be open-minded to everyone's concerns. Again, we handed in nearly 2,500 signatures on an independent line. A lot of people in this audience here were a big part of doing that, and we want to thank you very much from the bottom of our heart. The Town of Ramapo. As we all know, the Town of Ramapo has been a mess for far too long. As Michael said, there's been divide and divisions within the town for far too long. I will say to you that the decisions by the current administration and the previous administration has caused a lot of those divides within the communities. They've instituted plans and decisions that have really polarized the communities to the point where we're near a breaking point. My running mates and I are the team that is competent enough to listen to everyone's concerns, and we will govern with everyone's best interest at heart. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to speak here and come here today. We are on the primary ballot line this Tuesday, September 12th. We are also on the general election ballot line in November, on the 7th, so you will get a chance to vote for us twice. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to keep you in the hot seat for a little because I did get some audience questions. And this question is for candidate Specht. And this is, I'm reading it verbatim. After destroying the zoning in the minority communities for 12 plus years, carrying out convict St. Lawrence's policies, how can you expect anyone to support you?
Well, I think there's a lot of premises, assumptions built into that question that have to be addressed. I didn't destroy any communities. I didn't vote for any zone changes or variances. That was not something I did or my job. I'm an attorney. I have a private practice, and I also work part-time as a deputy town attorney for the last 20 years. I was hired by the late Herb when he was supervisor, and I've stayed with the town since then. And among other things that I've done, I've counseled or been the attorney for the zoning board. The zoning board is a group of people who are appointed by the town board and the town supervisor to make decisions. The role of a lawyer, as people know, is to make sure the process is followed, to defend the decisions. But what I have to emphasize is that my role as a lawyer would be different than my role will be as supervisor, when instead of having to give advice about policy, it would be to make policy, it would be to make changes in the town. Our platform is to impose a freeze, a moratorium on overdevelopment, is to look at our master plan, which has not been reviewed since 2004, despite all the changes that have occurred in the town of Ramapo. And it's, while we have a moratorium in place, is to revisit and rewrite the sections of law that need to be corrected so that communities are preserved, so that any future development is sustainable and smart growth and not haphazard, destructive growth. Those are the changes that we plan, and we've spelled out. The town board already took the first step in setting up dates to have hearings on the moratorium. We intend to go further with that once we're in office, and we're going to make sure that zoning reform is a priority of our campaign, of our administration.
Could I respond to that too?
Yes, you're allowed to. 1.5 minutes.
Okay. Mr. Specht has been the deputy town attorney since 1998. He's also been a zoning board of attorney for a dozen years, maybe longer. Mr. Specht is looking for a job. He's looking for a promotion, right? He's been St. Lawrence's attorney for 17 years. He's been his personal attorney on various campaigns. He's also been, as someone, the question mentioned, the zoning board attorney. He's been working with Michael Klein, who's currently under SEC enforcement action. He's been working with Christopher St. Lawrence, as we know, who's going to jail. He's been working with Nathan Oberman, who's also under SEC enforcement action. For the last 1.5 years, I've been calling on Supervisor St. Lawrence, Michael Klein, and Nathan Oberman to resign from that office. Because if I were working within the town of Ramapo, and I knew that those people were under criminal indictment and SEC enforcement indictment, I would have spoken up. I would have spoken up loud. I would have demanded that they were reprimanded, censured, or removed from office. You've sat there silently for so long, and now you're asking for us to make you supervisor. I have a hard time believing that the people should accept that.
Can I get a quick response?
No, I have to ask a next question. Okay. I'm sorry. The next question is in a similar vein, so we can skip over if you'd like to. And basically the question is, how can you expect anyone to support the corrupt regime that nominated you? Which is a similar question, I suppose, to the one before.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Should I read it again?
Yeah, no, I have the question. Okay. I'm not sure.
It basically is, you know, how can you expect anyone to support the regime that nominated you, which is a corrupt one?
I was nominated by 3,000 people who signed petitions to put me on the ballot as the Democratic candidate for the office of supervisor for the town of Ramapo. There was no regime, there was no corruption, there was democracy in action.
Okay, may I speak on that? Okay. We looked, and I had a meeting with legislator Charles Falsiglia, who happens to be your neighbor, and I saw him last night. He did a look at your petitions, and he noticed that you didn't even carry your petition in your own neighborhood, and you got about 50 signatures in the village of Suffern, where you reside. And 2,600 or 2,700 of your signatures were gotten in a very small region within Ramapo. So to say that you went out in Ramapo and got these signatures from all across Ramapo, I think is a little bit misleading.
I think you're practicing the division that we've been talking about the whole evening and saying some people's signatures are worth more than other people's and some communities are more valuable than other people's.
I'm actually saying that it would have been nice for you to go out and meet your own constituents.
Well, I mean...
All right, and we're also going to ask the audience to be constrained. No outbursts, please. Thank you. Okay, the next question directed at our candidates for supervisor, and either of you can answer. What is your position on the ward system for the town of Ramapo, a ward system for the town of Ramapo? And for anybody who doesn't understand that, you would have the town, instead of electing candidates at large for the town board, you would be voting in specific districts that the town would be divided into.
I'll take that. I am 100% in favor of the ward system. It works well, and as Tony Earl would say, it works well at the county legislator level because you get to meet and you get to listen to the concerns of your neighbors. So bringing things back local. The town of Ramapo is the largest by population town in Rockland County, makes up nearly 50% of the population. If it's good for the county, it's good for the town of Ramapo. The one thing I would say too, people were at court the other day litigating. It's still in court. We had a vote. It ended up being a fraudulent vote, and there was arguments over the affidavit ballot. The town attorney's office did everything they could to block the implementation of that vote. And just the other day, the petitioners, including one that's here, were down at federal court arguing against the town attorney, Janice Gittleman, who I believe is here, and who had a fundraiser for you last night. The town of Ramapo did everything they could to do to block the ward vote. They didn't want to listen to the will of the people. As supervisor, I will, along with my running mates, vote to implement the ward system, to put it back on the ballot so that the people can have a fair vote that's run by the Rockland County Board of Elections, not by the corrupt regime that is known as Ramapo Town Hall.
Yes, I'd like to briefly respond. Well, Bill, first of all, you're calling the vote on the ward system corrupt because you don't like the way it turned out. You're calling it fraudulent. You lost that vote. The side you support lost that vote. It's in court. We'll see what the court does.
So are you against it?
I don't think it's an effective solution. I think the solution...
I think she wanted to guess.
There's a question on the floor.
Yes. The question is the ward system. I think a better solution is to have more voter turnout from all over the town. I think a ward system would be unnecessary if everybody turned out to vote. I think that's the answer. Rather than pitting, the answer is I'm against, I don't see the need for the ward system. I think rather than pitting community against community, we need greater voter turnout and greater voter participation from everybody.
For September of 2014 turnout, you had a huge turnout among people of all religious and ethnic backgrounds. Over 32,000 people came out and voted. More people that actually voted in the biennial election. So I would say the will of the people did come out. When the town fraudulently allowed affidavit ballots to come in and then improperly counted them, I think that's when the will of the people was overturned.
Well, unfortunately for you, the Supreme Court decided that there was no evidence of fraud and threw out the claim that there was something wrong with the counting vote. We'll let the courts decide.
Okay, I think the question was answered. This question is for Mr. Specht also. Did you get a commitment from the block vote for your candidacy?
Certainly not. I'm here campaigning for everybody's vote in the town of Ramapo. I don't even know how to even address that issue. Nobody promised me any votes. Nobody met with me and said I'm getting certain votes from certain neighborhoods. And again, this is an example of looking at the town in a fragmented way instead of coming together and working together as one.
May I answer? I'm running with Shani Backhofer, an Orthodox woman from Muncie. I'm running with Grant Valentine, an African-American trustee from the village of Chestnut Ridge. I'd like to say that we look like Ramapo, and we will govern as such with everyone's community interest in mind. We are the only unity ticket. I'm happy that my running mates showed up tonight because they are ready to discuss the issues. We are not afraid to talk about the issues, and we want to unite all the communities of Ramapo with a belief in good government, fiscal responsibility, transparency, rule of law, honesty, and integrity.
Okay, I have yet another question for Mr. Specht. Why aren't you running with a team of candidates for other positions in the town?
Well, we do have a team of candidates. We have people running for town board and town highway superintendent, so we do have a team. Unfortunately, due to family commitments and other commitments, I was the only one who was able to be here tonight. But we do have a slate. We have Ullman, who was running for town board, Wanounou, who was running for town board, and Fred Brin, who's running for highway superintendent.
All right, and one additional question, Supervisor. If you know or if you knew that somebody in your administration was acting unethically, would you call on that person to resign, or would you call that person out and fire them? Or would you resign if you needed to?
Without question, if I believe somebody was acting illegally, unethically, improperly, I would confront that person. We would take action to have that person removed from whatever office or employment they had, whatever was appropriate.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions for the candidates for town supervisor in the town of Ramapo?
I'm from the village of Suffern. My children are fifth generation. Since you've been on the board and you've been involved with the town for the last 20 years, when all the corruption was going on, as that question just stated, why didn't you say anything?
Well, let me just say, I've never been on the board. I'm an employee of the town like many other employees of the town. The corruption that I think...
Why didn't you say anything?
Because I had no involvement in anything that was illegal. I've never been accused in my life.
No, we're not going to have back and forth. Yes.
I've never been accused in my life of doing anything illegal, improper, unethical, and one person was indicted for what happened with the ballpark stadium financing, and he was convicted, and he was sentenced, and I think you could ask anybody who's familiar with the facts of the case. I and many of my colleagues who work in the town like everyday citizens working at their jobs had no knowledge and involvement in anything until we found out.
Can you speak for your running mates as well?
To my knowledge, yes, but I can't answer for them, but to the best of my knowledge, absolutely.
All right,
I'd just like to chime in. So the question that was asked before was, would you speak out and demand people that were fired in your administration? And granted, this is not your administration, but I think you still have a responsibility to speak out when things are wrong, whether it's on issues there, whether it's issues with the school systems. There's a whole host of issues where, we get a chance to stand up and say, something's wrong, okay? And there's a time and place to do that. I would just remind everybody one other issue. Melissa Reimer was a town employee. Melissa Reimer was the quote-unquote whistleblower who went to the FBI with information that ended up with the indictment and conviction of Supervisor St. Lawrence. Mr. Specht, in his part-time work as deputy town attorney, was the person that prosecuted or handled the disciplinary action against Melissa Reimer. He never raised a ethics complaint against Supervisor St. Lawrence, against Matt Oberman, against his boss, Michael Klein. They only picked on Melissa Reimer. I'm wondering, is it because she's a woman? Was it for some other reasons? But I think what happened during that, and a lot of people think that those people that work within the town of Ramapo think that those were trumped up charges because they were afraid that she was going to spill the beans on what was going on. And I think it was an absolute shame that she was prosecuted and she was called out and nobody else was called out ever since that day. Thank you.
This is a question for Mr. Weber. If you were to win your election for town supervisor and for some reason the other members of your team did not win, would you work with the existing town board members? The person puts the corrupt town board members.
When we win, but I'll play the hypothetical for a second. I consider myself a very good delegator and a very good manager, and there'll be opportunities and times when you have department heads or you have council people on your board that you may not agree with their positions or their policies. I'm a great listener. I'm a great administrator. I will listen to everyone's complaints, everyone's concerns, and of course I will work with anyone that's on the board because I have to, because gridlock in Ramapo can't be allowed to happen. There are so many problems in Ramapo, and we have a short amount of period to fix those problems. So, under that, I'm going to call illogical scenario because we plan on winning, but if that would happen, I would work with anyone on the board because the important work of Ramapo needs to move forward.
And those are the questions we have for you. And at this time, we'd like to thank them for the candidates for town supervisor for being here. At this, there's another candidate. There's another question. I'm sorry.
Yes, I have a question. Mr. Specht, I've attended many zoning board meetings where you were the attorney. And we constantly saw you referring to, advising the zoning board how to approve zoning variances for all of these buildings. Never ever did we ever see you once advise them not to approve some of these zoning variances that are destroying our neighborhoods. Okay? And the case in point, and we've seen you do abnormal things, which I think borders on criminal. And the case in point is Bluefield Extension, where you and Ryan Carden collaborated to pretend that you overrode a county GML that never existed. So I think that there's a big trust factor or distrust in you that anybody that vote for you, if these people believe that you're going to, a leopard is going to change its spots, that's not going to happen.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
I have to respectfully disagree with you. I understand where you're coming from. I understand the frustrations with some of what's happened in the Town of Ramapo, with zoning in particular. But Mr. Miller, I never advised the board to approve something. I never advised the board to deny something. The board made its decision. I gave them the law. I told the board how to make a decision that will stick, whether it was to approve or to deny, because that's the job of a board.
I never heard you say to them how to do something
Okay,
to not approve.
we're not going to be able to have...
You always told them what they had to do to approve. You never mentioned what would happen if they did not do what you were suggesting that they do. And we sat and listened to that. You know, if you want, I can bring some transcripts in here from about those meetings.
Mr. Miller, I will disagree with you. I think if you would be fair, you remember most of the time my advice to the zoning board was to make sure the hearings were held in the public, that everything was on the record, that everybody, whether they were for or against an application, had a chance to speak and the board would listen to what they had to say. I have no control over what the board did, how they voted. They're an independent board. All I can do is make sure the process is followed.
But you influenced.
Okay, we have to cut it. I'm just going to ask Mr. Weber if he wants to respond to the comment that was made.
I've been at a lot of planning and zoning board meetings over the last number of years, and that's where I've met. I originally met Michael Miller, and I've originally met Shani Bachhofer because, as I said earlier, a lot of the decisions made by the Town of Ramapo, by the Town of Ramapo planning and zoning boards, have divided our town to the point where it's nearing a breaking point because there's been lack of transparency, there's been lack of communication. There's planning and zoning board meetings like 2 weeks ago that went till 2 o'clock in the morning. There were people that, you know, they come out, they want to be heard. They've invested their entire livelihood to build their homes and live in a beautiful neighborhood. They want to come out and listen and be listened to. And the thing ran until 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just bad practices, bad governance, and it gives the impression that things are being done under cloak and dagger in the middle of the night. So I would say under our administration, we are going to demand that all planning and zoning as well as town board meetings are videotaped, are live streamed, and transcripts are readily made available to the public because it's in everyone's best interest to have as much information in front of them as possible so that they can know what's going on in their neighborhoods.
Thank you very much. Can I give you a minute to wrap up, if you'd like?
Thank you. Can I go first? Thank you. I think the big difference between myself and Bill Weber is that we're running a positive campaign. We have a platform of specific changes we want to make, of reforms we want to implement that we've thought about and that we want to put forward. And there are more things we want to do. I won't go into all of them. I have it available. It's online. It's easily available. We have plans. We have positive changes. We're not running a campaign that's negative, that's based on smearing people, that's based on innuendo, that's based upon guilt by association with other people. We're running a platform of program that we want to change the town, the way things are done. And I just ask that people keep an open mind and hear what we have to say and make a decision based upon the facts and not based upon emotion.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out again. I appreciate it, and I want to thank everybody who was involved in setting up this forum for doing so, because I think lively debates about the issues are democracy at its best. Trustworthiness, honesty, integrity. These are core principal issues that need to be in Ramapo Town Hall. It's been devoid of that for so many years. My running mates and I will bring honesty and integrity and transparency and unity back to Ramapo Town Hall. We are a coalition ticket of Democrats, Republicans, Independents. As Grant Valentine once told me, he said before we were all Democrats and Republicans, we were kids playing soccer and baseball in the park together, kids that went to school together. We need to get back to the basics in terms of honest leadership and getting back to voting people that have the qualifications and all of the communities of Ramapo in their best interest. I ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to ask the candidates for Ramapo Town Board to join us here, the Town Board to join us at the podium. I know we have the two members of the Unity team, Shani Betchhofer and Mr. Grant Valentine. So, are there any other candidates running for the Ramapo Town Board?
Could you please state the process again in terms of questions?
Again, if you have a question, you're not supposed to ask it from the floor. You are supposed to write your question on an index card, give it to somebody on the side, and they'll give it to me, and I will ask the question of the candidate. So, can we follow that procedure going forward? Thank you. Again, if you want an index card to write your question, put your hand up, raise your hand. Okay, so we have two candidates for the Ramapo Town Board, and we will give each of them 2 minutes to introduce themselves. First is Mr. Grant Valentine.
Okay, I'll go first. I think a lot of folks know me already. My name is Grant Valentine, and I'm the candidate for council for the town of Ramapo. My running mate is Shawnee. A little bit of my background. When I talk to him about my background, my wife said I take too long because it's so long. But just to be real brief, I'm currently in my second term as trustee in Village Chestnut Ridge. I'm also in my second term as trustee of Rockland Community College. I'm also in my 8th year as on the board of the Youth Bureau here in Rockland College, Rockland Community. I spent over 40 years in community service here in Rockland, to the service of people of Rockland County. I worked on the Rockland County Drug Dependency Board. I've been part of the Rockland County Lions Club Board. I've done those things to show you that I am part of this community, that we, myself, Shawnee, and Bill, are people of this community. We work for this community. That's who we are in this community. I wanted to say one other thing as well, too, that it's important for you to understand that we are working for the people of Ramapo, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, that you can believe in. This is a team you can believe in, and I thank you for coming here because each of you here are part of history. This is history in Ramapo, and I thank you for being part of history, being an active participant in history.
I'm Shani Betchhofer, and I'm running for town council with Bill and Grant. And we're all three going to win, by the way. I'm a mother and a grandmother. I'm an educator for over 3 decades. I'm an Orthodox woman from Muncie, New York. I have a PhD from Northwestern University. I do consulting to improve schools and improve organizations. I really never thought that I was going to be sitting in a chair like this. But here I am, and I just want to tell you why. You might think, I heard reference to a block vote. People might think that all Orthodox Jews in Muncie are the same and share the same opinions and agree with everything that happens. It's not like that. I represent a lot of people who were, frankly, a little too frightened to run, but I was so heartened to hear that the other side is going to be running a non-negative campaign with no smear tactics. Where's Mr. Specht? He said that.
He's going. He left.
Oh, well, I heard it. And no guilt by association. I just want to, I heard that. You heard that. Did you hear that? I heard that.
I heard
so
that.
That was really good to hear. But a lot of us have been watching with dismay as the place where we're living turns into something else by devious means. Things are done that absolutely contradict the values of my religion. And that is not okay. I think you can understand that. We need to restore a government here where people can talk to people and not groups talk at groups. I'm so excited when I sit around the table with Bill and Grant, and even when we argue, we disagree, or we have different opinion, it's interesting, and we listen to each other, and we come to some sort of productive conclusion. So that's what has to happen in this town. I look forward to answering your questions. I hope you'll come out and vote for us on the reform line at the primary, which is coming up soon. And of course, you and all your friends, neighbors, family, etc., come on November 7th and vote us in.
I did not get any specific questions for the candidates for town board, so I don't have any questions to ask you. So we'll ask you to take a minute to wrap up. If you'd like to say anything else, you can have an additional minute. Oh, we do have one. Okay. Have it? Oh, the question is coming.
Okay.
You're supposed to fill out one of the index cards with your question.
I'm not going to bite. I'm going to take 1 minute. Look, I grew up in Rockland, not Ramapo. I came all the way up here from Manhattan, so I want to thank you for finally doing something different. It took a lot of courage to come up here, and I just want to say that thank you again.
You're welcome.
Can I just respond to him real quickly? Can I just respond to him?
Yes.
I want to thank you and all the voters here. This race will be won by the people here in Spring Valley. And it'll be won because the Ramapo machine takes the Democratic vote for granted. They believe that you will go in there and just pull the lever for Democrat without looking at the candidates and who they are. I think you can do better than that. The machine does not rule you. And the Ramapo is worth saving for our children, for our seniors, and for the quality of life that we want here in Ramapo. I believe in you, the voters in Ramapo. I believe in you, the voters of Spring Valley. But we need your help come November 7th.
I did get one question.
Oh, very good.
So, the question is, how do you plan to address issues of diversity in the town of Ramapo? And I think perhaps your ticket does do that, so go ahead if you want to say anything more about
Thanks.
it.
I do want to say something more about that, because the ticket, I mean, look, we don't want to fall for gimmicks. You shouldn't fall for a gimmick. Nobody should. This has to run a lot deeper than 3 people who look different. Okay, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I remember sitting together with a group of people. Some of you might be in here. We were talking about the situation. We've been meeting ongoingly about the situation in the East Ramapo School District. And there were a bunch of us sitting around the table. Frankly, there were just a couple of us from the Orthodox community and people from various communities. And at first, it was really hard for people to talk to each other honestly and hear each other saying painful things. But that was a really important experience. And I think one way to bring the town together is to provide more opportunities like that, where we bring people from different communities together to talk about whatever it is and learn about each other and see each other as people and listen to what really the pain and the hurt and the fear that someone on the other side has that you never even realized. And that's a really important express. I think that's one thing. The second thing is, thank you, is when you do things honest and above board and you follow the law and you make sure to educate people and open yourself up to people. That is what is going to really make it impossible for the other side, for you to be split, for us to be split and pitted against one another. We have been pitted against one another, and sometimes deliberately. And you need to think about that. Pitted against one another, community against community, because that benefits certain people who want to have certain outcomes. All I can tell you is we're not going to do that. We're going to try to make everything clear and apparent and easy to follow. The last thing I'll just say about this is that it's time to reform the office of the town attorney. It's time to depoliticize the office of the town attorney in Ramapo. The attorney is not actually a hapless individual who just sits there and can't really do anything about anything that the boards do. That is actually, we're just told that, but that's not true. The guidance that the lawyers give to these boards is what guides them to make a decision one way or another. It gives them permission. I'm going to finish in 10 seconds. It gives them permission. So when the town attorney's office gets cleaned up and filled with the right kind of people, competent, ethical people, the best of the best, like Grant just said, that's going to go a long way when we have a civil rights division in that town attorney's office, which we will do. These are things that are on our minds. We're thinking about these things. We're deliberating about these things. Grant, do you have other comments?
Yeah, I just want to say before I say my comments, I've been on the Chestnut Ridge Planning Board for over 10 years. And the attorney who sits on that board does guide your decisions. So when someone says that they just give a recommendation, that's not true. That is not true. And let me just say that in terms of diversity in county government, you know, Martin Luther King said, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. And I don't think we've heard anything from Ramapo about diversity. We have everything about the number of attorneys that are in Ramapo that don't look like anyone in this room, hardly. You know, we want to make sure that when we come on board, that we put the best and the brightest that Rockland has to offer in our administration. We didn't send our children to schools not to be able to come back and work for us and make sure that our communities are better. We want to make sure that our planning boards and our zoning boards have the best and the brightest that reflect our community and the sensitivity of our community, and make sure that they're making decisions that reflect our community. That's not happening now. What's happening now on our boards and administration in Ramapo is cronyism, self-interest, special interests. Those people who have a vested interest in supporting a government that is not working for the people here in Ramapo. We want to change that. We want to make sure that our boards reflect the people, that we do the work of the people, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And with myself and Bill and Shawnee, we have the professional experience, we have the life experience, and we have the political experience. Shawnee and Bill and I have been working in this community without getting paid for the benefits of the people here in the community of Ramapo. And we will continue to do that, because that's who we are. Our hearts are united. Republican, Democrat, Independent. Our hearts are united for the people around us. We stand shoulder to shoulder. We stand here for you. And we need your help, though, come November 7th, to come out and vote. To tell your friends, your neighbors, to come out and vote. Because it's your time, Ramapo, for a change. It's about time. Don't you think it's about time? It's about time.
I got one additional question, and the question is, would you be open to 60 Minutes, or I assume some other investigatory media outlet, whatever, coming to Ramapo to investigate corruption in the town?
we believe in transparency. We believe that that everyone should be held accountable for their actions, whether it be from the media, whoever it is. The public should know what's taking place. This is your government. It should not be backroom deals. It shouldn't be no big contracts taking place. There shouldn't be these special land deals going about without your knowledge. Everything should be brought to the surface. You should know what's going on in your community, because this is your taxpayers' dollars that pay these salaries. And unfortunately, what's been taking place for so long, these backroom deals, cronyism, self-interest, and special interests have taken the root here in Ramapo. We want to change that. We want government to work for you, the people of Ramapo. It's about time. It's your time for a new direction.
I think what they told me, since I was never a politician before, but they said all media and all press is good press. But I don't really think we need 60 minutes to come and do an investigative special to determine that something is rotten at the core in Ramapo. Now, if you're not sure about it, by all means, bring in 60 minutes, but I think it's obvious. And for myself, I will say, it's not my goal to get people punished. One of the things I love about our ticket is that we're not angry people. We're all constructive people who want to do the work. And, but sure, they can come and start investigating all kinds of things, be my guest, but I guess they'll probably be busy for a while. But that's not the point. The point is, forget the people who did the wrongdoing. That's my perspective. Okay? I don't want to waste my energy on them. I want to spend my energy fixing this up and running it better than ever before. Smarter, safer, cleaner, more beautiful Ramapo than it ever we imagined. It is time for a change, and I don't think we need 60 minutes to tell us that.
Thank you. So we've actually done wrap-ups, and then of course we got the questions afterwards, so I won't ask you to do another minute of closing unless you want to.
I'd like to.
Okay, all right, so 1 more minute each.
Okay, I just first want to thank JAMCCAR, NAACP, and everyone for coming out tonight and supporting us. I think what's important to understand that this Ramapo machine does not control you. We have the tools in our toolbox and in our DNA and in your DNA to move to a new direction. And that's what we need you to do. When you think about Democrats, a little bit of history, when you think about the Democrats, you have to make sure that we don't go and vote blindly for Democrats. Everyone understands that George Wallace was a Democrat, right? I don't think we vote for him. We also know that Woodrow Wilson was a Democrat. He's the one that allowed the birth of a nation to be shown in the White House. He was a Democrat. We also know that there were some Democrats who did not vote against lynching when it came up. They voted against it. We also know that some Democrats voted against the Voters' Rights Act. So you cannot go in your voting booth in November and vote blindly for Democrats. Look at the credentials of the people who are running. People, of the people, by the people, for the people. It's in your DNA. It's in your toolbox to do that. We need you to come out. We need you to make sure you have people come out and vote for people who represent you. Not just for you, for your children, for the East Ramapo School District, for our seniors, and for a quality of life that each of us here in Ramapo deserve. It's your time, Ramapo, for a new direction. It's your time. Thank you.
Well, we want to thank the candidates for Ramapo Supervisor Grant Valentine and Shani Bishop. Shani and I have college in common. We both went to Bard. So there's something in common. Thank you so much. Okay. I just want to make an announcement. There are voter registration forms available on the table on the side. If you are not registered to vote, you need to do so now. Registration closes around the first week or